In talking about the market trends, I wanted to start off with some market leaders and what they were forecasting this year. It was interesting to see. You have someone in this graphic here. We have some estimating 5% gains, some estimating 5% losses in prices, and everything in between. And it just goes to show that people don't know what is going to happen right now, and we'll talk about why that is. We're in a little bit of uncharted territory. It's not necessarily a typical down market or up market. But on the other side, whereas they were all over the board in terms of prices, everyone feels pretty confident that there will just be less home sales this year. So let's talk about what we are seeing in Greater Boston. So what's interesting in terms of prices, we've actually already had a price correction. So if you can see my cursor, right around here was the COVID years, and we had a big spike in prices, as you can see. This was the top about last year. People were going hundreds of thousands over asking. Property was just flying off the market. And then this is actually the second half of last year when rates really started to hit the market and make an impact and buyers started dropping off. We actually saw a price adjustment. I would say it was particularly felt in the Boston condo market. And again, we're talking generalization. So every market is different. Every even condo is different. But in general, we saw a price drop here. And in the beginning of this year, it's come up a little bit, but I suspect it will probably start stabilizing here. Now, I don't know if we're really going to see another major price drop. And the reason for that is because of inventory. So we're still in this extremely low inventory environment. So here we are back in 2015. This is the start. We see the inventory is obviously a lot higher. It fluctuates. You see these jagged lines. That's just due to seasonality. And then during COVID years, again, we had a really big drop. People were staying put. People were working from home. And we still are really low for this inventory. So for there to be this massive market crash this year, we need to see two things to happen: a big increase in inventory and a decrease in demand. I do think the rates are going to, as they continue to rise, and the Fed said they're going to rise at least 3 more times this year, that buyers will pull out of the market, and that will start to even things out. But for this '08 crash to happen, I think we'd need to see a lot more inventory. And we're not getting inventory from resale right now because a lot of sellers, they're calling it in the industry right now, seller strike. And I just can't blame them in a way. They have a mortgage for 3%. They don't want to sell that and then buy something for 7%. It's a really tough pill to swallow. Now, some of them are going to have to sell. Life circumstances force you to sell, fortunately or unfortunately. And so I think right now people are kind of holding back. And as the spring and summer market comes to fruition, we're going to see more inventory come on because sellers are just going to have to throw in the towel and say, look, I got to sell. I can't stay in this 2-bed apartment anymore because, I have 3 kids or whatever it might be. So I do think we'll start to see more inventory from the resale market. We'll see a little bit of inventory from construction in general in Boston and Greater Boston. We're not going to get a ton of brand new construction. I went to also a Holy Cross grads, one of my best friends in Florida. I visited her. She just bought in a new complex. It's gorgeous. They built, I think, thousands of homes, and they built a new downtown. It's a new zip code. I can't even put their town name into my GPS because that's how new it is. And she actually bought something similar before moving to Florida in California. And Massachusetts just isn't like that. If we have a little subdivision, maybe at max it's 10 homes, maybe it's 20 homes, or it's condos. So we're not going to get a ton of inventory from new construction. It's also really expensive to borrow right now, particularly for everyone. But I think if it's expensive to buy as a primary, it's even more expensive to buy as an investor. And the cost of materials are still pretty high. So where else are we going to get the inventory? Well, often you'll get the inventory from distress sales. And this is a good indication of foreclosures. So here's our foreclosure rate, almost 8 years ago. You see it's in the 5 to 6 range, maybe 4 to 6, depending on the year. It went down as the market got better, got stronger, and it went really low. These are the COVID years. And the reason for that is there was a forbearance program. They weren't allowing anyone or they weren't letting anyone to foreclose. They were giving people some space and some breathing room in case their jobs were lost. And you might have seen headlines. We have 100% increase in foreclosures. Yeah, we do. It went from 0.5 to almost 1.5. So it's still very, very low foreclosures. And I don't necessarily think we're going to get this huge increase in foreclosures. Since '08, we've really tightened up the lending requirements. And we also have further increased them since the COVID years. I remember that in the beginning of COVID, they went from 50% debt to income ratio down to, and now we're at, I believe, 43%. So do I think this number will go up? Yes, I do. I think we're probably going to see some more distressed sales. This, in my opinion, is more of a lagging indicator of the real estate market, particularly in Massachusetts, because it takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to actually be foreclosed on. If we are a lot of people are buying with adjustable rate mortgages, or they were doing that particularly last year. I don't know if people are doing it as much this year. And if you plan to be in that property long term, that adjustable rate, if you are not able to refinance prior to that, that might cause some foreclosures to increase, or we might see more inventory come up from that because all of a sudden sellers are saying, I can't afford this mortgage. I need to sell my home and maybe rent for a little bit, or what have you. Who knows? Maybe rates will, some lenders think that in 5 years, rates will come down a little bit, and people will be able to refinance. I don't have a crystal ball for that far, but I know for the short term for this year,